Alright, so this has been sitting in the garage getting dusty. Let's open it up, see about installing it. Hardware, brackets, more brackets. We have a breezy day. Sorry about that. We've got one of the, maybe you've guessed by now what it is. This is one of the down tubes for the harness bar. Here's the other one. And then finally we've got the bar that goes across. Should be what it'll take to put a harness bar in the Mustang. So the way it works is that cover comes off and that cover comes off on both sides. So on this side, should be able to grab it and pull that off. That exposes the mounting bolt. So down here, that just flips up, actually stays captured on the belt. So I'll get my pneumatic wrench and power those off. The instructions on the Brom website say once you remove the bolts, you need to take the retainer clip off and take the spacer off. You'll be reusing it on both upper and lower. So I'll do that now. Try to keep that little retainer clip from deforming. So once that retainer and spacer are out, the next thing that happens is there is this device here which forms a detent for the seat belt upper retainer. So when this comes out, you can see down, well, this is actually retained all in there. That has got a spring in it. So we'll set that off to the side. Okay, and that then frees up the bolt and this washer and secondary spacer. Like that. Now we can go down to the lower one. The lower one doesn't have a detent in it, so I just gripped the outside of the retaining ring with a pair of pliers and just ran the bolt off. Now this one, this bolt is a Torx, which I happen to have, so we'll just drive it off that way. Alright, we'll try to do this one-handed. I'm kind of doubtful that I can, but so the intent is to try to retain the stock seat belts as well as having the bar. So the way this goes together, yeah, I need another hand. So normally it fits up in like that. So in this case, we'll take the bracket. It's now got the bolt running down through it. I feel like I should have a washer. Yeah, it's not going to move. If it was a moving joint, I'd feel differently. All right, so that goes through there like that. All right, then the next thing we need is this spacer to go in. And then this pops through here. not quite yet. Hold on. I'm gonna make sure that we get this through there. Now let's try this. Okay. Now we need the spring. That seems to go where it needs to go, almost. Yeah. So the spring gets in there, and then this retainer the spring is in. That goes through because it has to be retained before it can go on here. All right, something is not right. Do I have this on backwards? Let's try it that way. Now we're back to this. This feels better. Press the spring in. Maybe it comes from the back. I could just revert back to checking my notes. Okay, that appears to be correct. So let's just leave it loose. All right, finger loose. Now we move on to the bottom. So the bottom gets this plate. But I do need to find out which way this goes, whether it's that or that. All right, so run the original bolt through the seat belt and into the bracket. It needs to have this orientation. And then put it into the threaded hole in the car. I'm doing it without the spacer just to check it out. I get more thread engagement without the spacer. The orientation of this plate needs to be, they say, right about there. So I'll just leave it like that. The seat belt will come in front. Seatbelt will come in front. That all appears to be where it needs to be. This still, for now, this still does the adjusting. So I'm going to go over and do the same thing on the other side. You don't need to be along for that. All right, so the directions definitely don't take into account having that seat belt there. So two things had to happen. I had to move the bracket for the harness bar to the backside. So I don't know if you can see in there. There's a spacer. There is the bracket. Then I had to remove the ratcheting feature for this bar, or for this holder, harness holder, whatever, because where this wanted to be was right where that post was sticking. All right, so the other thing I did, which I probably should have done first, was connect the actual harness bar to the bracket, and that really drove where it needed to sit here. I've also got this fit, so I'm going to finish very loosely getting this all together, and that'll allow me to tighten up the bolts and make sure that the seat belt retracts easily. There's a second part to this whole harness thing, and that is anchoring the belt. Obviously the harness bar anchors the upper shoulder belts, but I needed some place to anchor the lap belt, not to mention the submarine belt, but that's project for another day. Anyway, pulling the seat out, I'm going to use this same seat belt anchor as the stock bolt. I had to bend down a tang right here in order to get the new lap belt in, and there's plenty of thread on the bolt to get all the way through the threaded insert of the seat. So the other belt will get anchored down to that bolt there. So the question next is there enough length on that bolt to go through what it's already going through? And I did think, oh, maybe I can reuse those. Those aren't long enough, those studs. Not long enough. So I'll pull this screw back out, bolt back out, and see if I've got enough length to add another layer to that sandwich. Yes, we are good to go. There was plenty of thread on that bolt, and I got the cover back on, and this will probably have to be lengthened. So I guess now is the time to we'll put the seat in, see what it ends up being. Lessons learned. Don't put your harness bar in before you fold down your seats. Now occasionally I'll use this car because it's not Lori Ann's car and I need to carry boards that are long, and there's no way to get these seats folded down with the harness bar in place. Once I'd installed the harness bar, in order to get them down, I had to loosen the bolts up there so that the bar could rotate. I had to completely, actually I guess I did, I had to remove these screws to be able to fold the bar forward enough to flip the seats past. And that's even with that adjusted like that. So they're where I want them to be. The seat belts don't collapse at this point as well as I'd like, but when they're extracted all the way out, they will keep tension on. That's the rest of the belts that need to go onto the harness bar at some point soon. That's a pretty straightforward job, and I'll get that on another video.